Do we have a fantasy star on our hands here, George? Here is the question with Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. A lot of folks went into the fantasy season saying, hey, look, maybe this isn't Anthony Richardson, but it could be the next best thing. I'm here to tell you, I don't know. I'm sort of feeling like Daniels could be better than Anthony Richardson.
I don't know if I'm going to go there yet, all right? But I think he's in the conversation, yeah. What did we hear at draft time? A lot of people wanted a quarterback who can move, right? You don't want the guy who's going to take 5-7 steps and throw the football anymore because you want that additional rushing yardage. You know, you get 50, 60 yards, that's a touchdown, right? That's why Josh Allen is so valuable. Lamar Jackson is so valuable, right? You go up and down. Jalen Hurts. You go up and down here. I think Daniels is going to be a good quarterback. I think Washington got their guy, and he can throw the football too. We know McLaurin's a really good wide receiver. It may not be much else there. We'll see what McCaffrey can be. Luke McCaffrey can be there in time. But, you know, I do have hope for him. I think at season's end, he's going to be a quarterback one. It may be a low-end quarterback one, but a quarterback one nonetheless.
Yeah, I was really impressed watching him in that game. All right, now Anthony Richardson, look, he's going to have a big year. He's going to have a big fantasy year. There's no question about it. I don't know about the long-term viability here. And look, give him credit. He hung in there with the Houston Texans. My fear for him, George, is that when you go back and you watch film, if you protect the deep ball against Richardson, he could hurt you with his legs. And that may be where all of his fantasy value is coming from. I cannot see him throwing 2 70-yard bombs like he did again.
That should come in time, right? Practice time. I think he will get better here. I think Richardson's going to be fine. Does need to learn how to avoid hits. All right. Once again, that hit. Remember that hit from Tua last night? He initiated it. Slide. The rules are made for you not to get hit. Take advantage of them.
Too much. 5. Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, the picks, the players, the hustlers, the people, the bust, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Twisted Tuesday has begun, and we really are jam-packed on the program tonight. We're shaking things up a little bit with the golf starting on Wednesday as opposed to the usual Thursday. Brady Cannon steps up and in. And, of course, we have the TGL tonight. We had a win with the Atlanta Drive. Atlanta Drive rolled the New York Golf Club this evening. So there's been 3 TGLs. We've won 2 of the 3 weeks. We took a shot with the underdog last week. We paid the price for it. The Jupiter Lynx, Tiger Woods' team was terrible. Tonight was just a pick-em. It was minus 110. And Xander Schauffele wasn't playing tonight either. He's on the New York team, but he's got an injury, so he wasn't playing this evening. And the match was a pick-em. Atlanta Drive rolled them. I think they shut him out in the end. It's kind of anticlimactic, actually. This league is pretty cool, but there's been a lot of blowouts, right? Like last week was just a massacre as well. Tonight was a blowout early. Like it was basically over early. And, you know, we haven't had like any sort of drama late in one of these events yet, but it is entertaining enough. And it's less than 2 hours. It's like a 2-hour television production. Starts at 7, ends at 9 type of deal. And you're able to bet on it. So we don't have a problem with it. I've actually enjoyed it. I watched this more than I've watched anything in the PGA. But we do have college basketball going off the board here right now. And I've got some bets to make along with you. Now, we are on the over of Wisconsin and UCLA. The total was like 141.5 or so. It ended up closing at $142.5. It's currently 146.5 in game right now. It's 32-29 for the Badgers in Los Angeles over UCLA. And I think UCLA are a good basketball team. They got a good program, but they're getting used to Big Ten basketball right now. And they're not doing great in conference play with these matchups. So it's 32-29. UCLA were 3.5-point favorites. We've got more Big Ten basketball going on with the Ducks and the Huskies. And I don't think that, listen, the Ducks are laying 13 points right now. It's up to 13 in this basketball game. I think it's too many points. You look at Washington, and Yeah, Washington are kind of struggling as well in their first year in the Big Ten, but they're 9-9 against the spread, right? And the Ducks are right there with them, like ATS wise. And the thing is, I think people look at this and like Washington have just been lit up. All right, they went on the road into Big Ten country and it didn't end well for them. Okay, so they got lit up. But the difference is, this is an old school rivalry. Right, like Washington, the Huskies and the Ducks, they play each other all the time, right? Like they were Pac-12 rivals and Pac-10, whatever, for years, etc. And they're also like it's a border rivalry. They're rivals. I mean, Washington, the Huskies, and the Oregon Ducks are rival universities. Football, basketball, I don't care what it is, they don't like each other. And if you look at the history between these two teams, they played a lot of close basketball games. And I think Washington are getting too many points here. Give me the Washington Huskies plus 13. This game only tips off at 11 o'clock, actually. And so does BYU and Colorado. So we got a bunch of 11 o'clock Eastern action coming up here this evening. BYU are laying a 5 spot in Boulder. The total is 147. And Wyoming are getting 8.5 against UNLV. I always prefer getting points with the UNLV Running Rebels, but that total's pretty light, it appears, at 133.5. We got time to take a look at the totals, but I can tell you that Washington plus the 13 and the over 145.5. That's what I'm looking at, college basketball. And I've also got the over in the Wisconsin UCLA game. As I stated, I got a 141. It's 146.5 right now. There's still 3 minutes left in the first half, and it's 32-29. It is on pace. NHL hockey. We've got some action going on right now. There's 3 games currently in action, but we're dropping the puck in a couple of minutes right now. In fact, we're dropping the puck right now in like a minute or so here. The Buffalo Sabres and the Vancouver Canucks. This game is in Vancouver. Vancouver have been an up-and-down team. Vancouver have played well against good teams. They just beat Edmonton the other night. Like, they'll beat a good team, and they'll be flat against a bad team. Vancouver have not been a great home team this year. It's been a problem for them. I get the feeling that there's almost a buy sign, with the Vancouver Canucks right now again. We've talked a lot about Thatcher Demko and Demko not being 100%, coming back from injury. They need him to start to get into a rhythm. The problem is, last night this number was $170. Now it's minus 190. It's a pretty pricey, it's a pricey, play right there. Do I think they're going to win? Yes. I really want to lay 90 cents? No. I also don't, if you want to lay a puck and a half, they're plus 140, the Vancouver Canucks, minus 1.5, plus 140, but I'm not sure they're going to win this game by 2 goals. So really it's minus 190 or pass, or the Canucks do often give up the first goal of the game and then it'll fall to a pick 'em. You got to figure out on one of these nights they actually don't. They don't give up the goal. The other night the Canucks, they do the same thing to Canucks all the time. They either give up a goal like in the first minute of the game when they're losing 1-0 right away, or they'll take like a 3-0 lead in the game and then blow the lead. Like that's been their pattern this year, and they've been really bad at home. I keep waiting for them to go on a home win streak a little bit. Like I said, they're coming off a home win against Edmonton on Saturday. So I do think they're going to win this hockey game, but it's pricey. Speaking of pricey, the Florida Panthers minus 275. I'm just not down with that. This game, they just dropped the puck right now. It just moved to minus 290. If anything, I would take a look at the Ducks here getting like 2.5 goals on the alternate line. That's what we like to do when there's these big numbers like this. So, in fact, you can get the Ducks right now. This is what we'll do. We'll take the Anaheim Ducks, and we can get the Ducks at plus 2.5 goals at minus 240. That's really not a bad price when you consider you're getting 2 goals in an NHL hockey game. So we'll jump in here. Don't tell me they scored. Let's see. I'm going to lose it if the Ducks score here right off the top before I get this in. But let's go with the Ducks. The Ducks plus 2.5 goals plus 240, and the Vancouver Canucks to win the hockey game. It's a little bit of a way to avert the big number. And you know what? This is actually plus 116. Morency, the mad scientist, comes through once again. Anaheim Ducks plus 2.5. Vancouver Canucks to win the game plus 116. Let's rock. And we'll play this as we go in game. Andrew McInnes will be batting leadoff tonight along with the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart. So we'll get their thoughts on the hockey as we're just dropping the puck. Brady Cannon in the house. So like I said, the golf starts on Wednesday instead of Thursday because they don't want to go head-to-head with the conference championship games on Sunday in the National Football League. So we'll have some golf picks for everybody this evening. Cam Stewart's golf picks and Brady Cannon in the house. Rick Saratella throws it down with us tonight. A lot of football talk with Rick and a lot of football talk with my boy Mo Khan as countdown to kickoff is on. The National Football League down to the Final Four right now. We've had a little bit of line movement as the Washington Commanders were getting 5.5 points yesterday. The Eagles are currently laying 6 right now. Total 47.5. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills get 1.5 in what is going to be an all-out war against the Kansas City Chiefs. I like what Deion Dawkins of the Buffalo Bills said. He goes, this game is kill or be killed, and we're going in there to kill. As the stakes are that high in this football game. The Twisted Tuesday has begun. Let's roll. This is SportsRage. Bring it.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pitch, the players, the hustlers, the people, the bust them, and everybody else in between. We've got a little bit of something for everybody tonight. Actually, we've got college basketball, and I was just talking about some Big Ten games. Strange Big Ten game with the Ducks and the Washington Huskies, but some Big Ten basketball. UCLA, and the Wisconsin Badgers are in action. We've just dropped the puck in Vancouver, and I was just talking about how the Vancouver Canucks always give up the first goal of the game, like early in the game. And for the love of God, I don't know how the Buffalo Sabres, the puck just didn't go in the net. Like, They came so close to scoring 3 minutes in. I'll tell you what, Demko just made like 2 ridiculously crazy saves on the same sequence. Where he stopped the puck and then he stopped the rebound, actually. And as I was saying off the top, like the Canucks, they haven't had Demko. People have been overly critical of the Canucks a little bit, I think, but I get it. I think they exceeded expectations a little bit last year. They weren't quite as good as their record, so I think people just sort of thought, "Oh, the Stanley Cup this year," and so they've been battling, they've been fighting through this a bit, but they haven't had Demko. And every time Demko comes back, he gets hurt again, and then he's out for another couple of weeks, and he comes back and he gets hurt again, and he never gets into a rhythm. But I thought he played really well on Saturday against the Edmonton Oilers, and they beat the Oilers in a must-win game. And so far tonight, you can see. He's like, if he starts to get back, I think the Canucks can go on a little bit of a run. But I'll tell you what, Buffalo are dominating them right now, and it's the Demko show early. Buffalo all over the Canucks early. They close as -190 favorites. As if you were tuning in, if you didn't, we took the Vancouver Canucks to win the game, even though I hate the price. Parlayed with the Anaheim Ducks plus 2.5 goals against the Florida Panthers. And I actually got a plus 116, and we can tell everybody, whoa, Nelly, we've got an early goal. The Anaheim Ducks have taken a 1-0 lead on the Florida Panthers tonight at the Pond in Anaheim. So a good start for our plus 2.5. Now we got to hope Vancouver finds, I swear I went to a Buffalo Sabre and a Vancouver Canuck game 2 years ago, I think, and the Sabres beat them, actually. Like I said, the Canucks are not a great home team. But we got Cam Stewart in the house, Andrew McInnes ready to step up. And then, Cam, what's your pick for the Canucks and the Buffalo Sabres game?
I like the over 5.5, but the way Demko's playing, we could have got a couple already, Gabe, but good call by you. I'm going to say this, too. Buffalo does tend to play better on the road. I watched that Kraken game on Martin Luther King Day. They dominated, but they're snake bitten. This team is just, they're a horrible home favorite, but they're better on the road. I expect a tight game, over 5.5. Vancouver will find a way. Buffalo, they play well, Gabe, but they give up really cheesy goals. Like the Kraken scored 5 against Vancouver. If their offense is clicking, they should be able to get 4 themselves. So, yeah, I'm thinking over 5.5 looks good. And I agree with you on the Ducks. It was Wetzel's Dark Cloud special, Florida in regulation. I tell him I don't like those favorites there. But anyway, good start if you're on the Ducks. Quack, quack, 1-0.
The Panthers close as -275 favorites in the game. Let's bring in Andrew McInnes. McInnes, good to see you. What do you think of this Sabres and Canucks game that we're about 5 minutes in right now?
Yeah, good to see you guys as always. Look, this game met the criteria for the first period over system bet as far as the team office shutout. But the cool thing is it wasn't just a regular office shutout. It was office shutout against the team they just played. So I'm on the first period over. And I heard Cam talk about that regulation bet with Florida. Look, I'm not on regulation, but I am on the team total. It's not often you get a chance when a team gets shut out. You want to bet on them to bounce back, but to bounce back against the exact same team off a shutout, let alone a team below 500. I know it's exciting. The Ducks are up 1-0, but the good news about my team total bet is I don't really care if the Ducks score 25 goals. I just need 4 on my own. So I'm on that one, and I'm also on over 1.5 in the first period for the Canucks game. And I'll tell you what, that Oilers game, Gabe, that game, I think it's about to pop off at any moment right now. So I'm really looking at this Oilers game. I think it's interesting. No McDavid. I'm getting kind of sick and tired of these bumps, coaches bump, coach firing, player injured, this, that. I mean, you guys have been doing this longer than me. It seems like it's so predictable. Like with the Red Wings, the second they fired their coach, the players just remembered how to play hockey again. Yep. It's magical, but then they lose a game and they're back to their old selves again. So I just think it's interesting, but no McDavid. I think the Oilers will kind of come back in this game. Plus 160 is what I just got when they were down 2-1.
I don't care for all that stuff either, McKenna said. I pay zero attention to it. I don't care if the mothers, fathers, sisters, cousins, whatever, these road trips, every damn day there's something, this and that, and right? It's about the daily grind in the league. And listen, teams have played a lot right now due to this Four Nations Cup stuff coming up. The schedule has been pretty condensed, so it's catching up to some teams. As far as I like the Capitals tonight coming into this game, I didn't, it was only plus 130. I didn't pull the trigger on it, but I was leaning with the Capitals. I spoke about this game with Pharrell earlier in the day. And what do you think, McInnes, of the 3 games for Connor McDavid? They're panicking in Edmonton. What did Austin Matthews did pretty much the exact same thing, right? And didn't Matthews get 2 games? I think Matthews got 2 games when he got the suspension for cross-checking somebody. It was a cross-check. I personally think 3 games is excessive for it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Like I said, and like people are flipping out about Crosby doing it. Myers did it at the same time as well. Myers cross-checked someone in the face. It's not a cool thing to do, but it's kind of par for the course in the modern NHL. The old cross-check to the face, that's what everybody seems to go to now. I thought 3 games was excessive for McDavid. But my last thought on this is McDavid's been getting away with a lot, like for a while. Bingo. And it was just a couple of days ago that he got away with the casual elbow. I don't know if you saw him, kids, when he skated by somebody and he just did a casual elbow to the face on the way out. I get it. You're going to compete in the corners and stuff, but McDavid's been dirty, and it looks like the league finally just said, you know what, we can't give this guy a free pass because he's Connor McDavid.
I'm going to say something I'm going to defend the players for a second, then I'll go with the other angle. And what I'm going to say here is that a lot of times these players they're so screwed, they take so much damage, but the referee can't call it all. Right? It's like a player in the NBA that's so talented at attacking the hoop, driving the hoop. You can't call a foul every time they go to the hoop, right? People used to call, I'm a diehard Crosby guy. People used to call him a whiner, a diver when he first entered the league. You're going to tell me he wasn't getting beaten up every night? He was. And now McDavid retaliated, and he deserves suspension. But he gets beat up, Gabe, every single night out there.
One of the weirdest nicknames I've heard in fighting. There's people have some strange nicknames at times, but the Lemon Killer. What do you even make of that? What is that about?
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna squeeze him like a lemon on the day we fight, and he's gonna pop.
Only on SportsGrid.
What if he gets Kellen Moore? CS guy, right? He was like supposed to be the coach in waiting when he was the offensive coordinator. Is that enough? Like, does Jerry pull the trigger for that? Or does he pull the trigger for Dion?
Mike McCarthy would have not let this play out this way unless he had a job. So I think McCarthy already has the New Orleans job.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP in the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP in the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
SportsRage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. The Wisconsin Badgers are up 41-36 on Mick Cronin's UCLA Bruins as the Bruins are having a tough time navigating themselves through their first year of Big Ten basketball. And Cronin keeps losing it as well. We saw him really, really flip out. It's funny, he flipped out after the Michigan game. Like, he went, like, over the top. Like, our players are an embarrassment, and, like, he sounded like a better. Yeah, it was an embarrassment. Like he went on, like he went off like the deep end about like it was a disgrace and all this. It's like, dude, Michigan are pretty good, and it wasn't like it was a blowout or anything like that. Whatever. Michigan were up big early in the game, and he's flipping out, but it backfired on him. Then they just started getting blown out after. So now he's eased up a little bit. Oh, we played hard, and he's trying. So I can tell like he's trying to push all the different buttons. The modern kid, though, you got to be careful with that. I remember Roy Williams at the end at North Carolina did that, and Roy was the nicest guy. And I don't know if you guys remember, but one it was after a game once. It's about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever. It was in his, near the end. And after he said, "These guys are the most gutless team I've coached in my entire years of basketball," he goes, "These guys are the worst." Like he basically just went off on them, and the team sucked after. Like, the players will quit on you. Like, the modern kid won't take it as, I'm going to show him. They're going to take it as, you know what, blow me. I'm going to transfer at the end of the year. Screw you, old man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they don't take it like, I better be better. They're like, you know what? F this guy. I regret coming here in the first place. I'm leaving.
Great point, Morency. Like, when we played hockey.
So, like, these kids at UCLA came, like Cronin, they've gotten worse since he called them an embarrassment. They're probably thinking, you know what? I could leave when the year's over, Coach, so I wouldn't insult me too much.
No offense, Morency, if you let a couple bad ones in, there was no transfer portal, and you go, "Hey, Coach, screw you. I'm never going to."
No, in the old days, you were screwed. You were like, if I transfer, I got to sit out for a year. So, like, you had to take it. Now you're like, I don't need to take this.
Exactly. You go up to your coach and go, "What the hell are you talking about?" Next thing you know, the guy's shooting pucks at you. It's like he bags.
And players do let coaches. Coaches don't like it because players will tell them, "Bro, I got offers from Tennessee, Alabama, Duquesne. Like, he can go off."
Coaches come and go more than players these days. Coaches are coming and going more than players are. I mean, this guy might still be on the team as a player, and the coach might be like. Think about it. In the NBA, how many bad teams can you guys think about where certain players that are good players on bad teams have had like 6 different coaches? If you're Buffalo Sabres in the NHL, you've had like 5 or 6 coaches in the last 7 years.
Yeah, but at some point, you got to look at the players need to look in the mirror. Like, those guys got a lot of coaches fired.
They did, Gabe. But I'll say this about the college, especially in college football. These coaches, me and you have talked about it for years. You were right. Like, I'm gone. I'm doing this. And when a kid does it, he's moving. You know what? Kids are basically saying now, transfer portal. Screw you. I can do whatever I want. You can go to this school. I can do whatever I want too. It wasn't like that before, right? They have the power. They can go wherever the hell they want. It wasn't like that before.
Yeah, and I'm not saying kids won't compete and stuff still. Yeah. They will, but they have an option now. Underwood's a good example for Michigan. Like, Underwood was the number 1 recruit in college football, and he was going to go to LSU, and Michigan got $10 million suddenly, and blah, blah. The rest is history. But they even told him, like, you're not the starting quarterback. You could be the starting quarterback, but, like, you're not. Like, some schools would have promised, hey, yeah, you're the starting quarterback if you come here. Not at Michigan. They brought in the quarterback from Fresno State, and they said it's a fair battle in camp, whoever wins the battle, and it's true. That's why, like, Tom Brady, like, such a stud. Tom Brady was told by Cal. Tom Brady's from the Bay Area, and the Cal Golden Bears told Tom Brady, "You will be our starting quarterback if you come to Cal." And Michigan told him, "We've got 6 quarterbacks. There's no guarantee you'll ever play if you come here." And he told his dad, "I'm going to Michigan." And his dad told him, "What are you, insane? Like, they just told you they've got 6 quarterbacks there, and there's never a promise that you'll play." And he said, "I want to earn it. I'm going to go to Michigan, and I'll play. Trust me." He actually didn't play that much. He only played for, like, 2 years, like, at the end. Like, he really did. Said, like, Tom Brady was on the bench watching Brian Griese win the national championship, but just going back a ways there anyways. So, still scoreless in Vancouver, guys, right now. In-game total is sitting at 4.5 right now. Over 4.5 is -150. Under 4.5. But I'll tell you what, we've seen this script before, guys. I've lost a million over 1.5s in the first period where there's been 1 or nothing. And inevitably, there's always like a bunch of goals early in the second period. So I think that'll happen. If nobody scores here, they're going to score early in the second period. McKinnis, you'll be happy to know the Florida Panthers have put a goal up on the board and responded. 1-1 at the pond.
One of the weirdest nicknames I've heard in fighting. There's people have some strange nicknames at times, but the Lemon Killer. What do you even make of that? What is that about?
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna squeeze him like a lemon on the day we fight, and he's gonna pop.
Only on SportsGrid.
What if he gets Kellen Moore? CS guy, right? He was like supposed to be the coach in waiting when he was the offensive coordinator. Is that enough? Like, does Jerry pull the trigger for that? Or does he pull the trigger for Dion?
Mike McCarthy would have not let this play out this way unless he had a job. So I think McCarthy already has the New Orleans job.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP of the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP of the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
SportsRage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency, and I mentioned the Four Nations face-off. That's going to be that's going to step up and in after the Super Bowl. If you're wondering about the sports calendar, so to speak, we've got the Super Bowl on February the 9th, and then that's the last day of NHL hockey, February the 9th. We've got the afternoon traditional Montreal Canadiens game in Montreal on Super Bowl Sunday, and I think there's another early game somewhere else, but. Washington, and then they shut things down, and then the Four Nations face-off starts that week. There's only 4 teams though, but it's a round robin, and they're going to be bouncing around from like Boston and Montreal. The tickets for like the Team Canada and versus USA in Montreal are like $400 or $500 to get in the building. But they're having a hard time selling the other tickets because, like everything the NHL does, they're a little bit too greedy. They just are. Like, you know what I mean? Instead of saying, you know what, let's just make this affordable for everybody, and like so we'll sell out. They get greedy. Well, we're shutting the league down for 2 weeks, so and you know these idiots in Montreal will pay anything, right? It's like, well, will they? You know what I mean? Like, not for Sweden versus Finland, they're not going to. Like those tickets are like $60. You know?
They don't care about Finland and Sweden. They couldn't care less. It's amazing. You're right. They are
but
greedy.
it's always expensive. Like the tickets, are like $250 and up. Like the cost price. It's like, guys. It's an exhibition series, McInnes, right? Like they always, like I said, they're just greedy, the NHL. The NHL Players Association are to blame. They were in on the pricing. But nevertheless, it's something to bet on, right? And, we're getting into that that part of the season after the Super Bowl, guys, right? You've got March Madness, conference tournaments, March Madness, the Four Nations face-off. Major League Baseball actually starts a lot earlier than it normally does this year. It starts like March 18th in Tokyo. All right, so still scoreless in Vancouver right now. 6 minutes left in the first period of play. NFL playoffs, McInnes, what do you think of the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles? The Commanders are now getting 6 points in this game.
I think that I don't want to sound like a hater of the quarterback on this team, but if anybody wants the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl, you might as well take Saquon Barkley to win Super Bowl MVP because that guy's going to have another 225 yards a game. maybe not that much, but this guy is carrying the load. I mean, what he's doing in both the receiving and the rushing game on a night and weekly basis, it's unbelievable. I mean, I've got buddies that are Eagles fans, and I told them, hey, look, he went from carrying the Giants to carrying the Eagles. The only difference is they have a defense and an offensive line. And they said, hey, we have a lot more than that. How could you look at a team that has A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and those guys combined for like 45 receiving yards, and they put performances on like they do? But I'm going to tell you what, with all my smack talk as a salty Packers fan aside, this is a dangerous Eagles team because they're not even utilizing all their weapons, and they are where they are right now. I think, last week I gave you guys Dalton Schultz. I don't think I can hit a prop in the first catch of the game again, or his first catch, but A.J. Brown, I think, is the guy for this week. I think the Eagles are going to have to throw the ball a lot more. I think it's going to be kind of more of a shootout type game as much as they want to control things on the ground. And based on last week, all the comments you saw, the things you heard about some drops and that big play in the corner of the end zone, I think this is an A.J. Brown week. I'm on his receptions. I'm on his yards. But I'll probably be laying it here with this Eagles team, and for one reason only, and it's because they know how to protect a lead. They're not going to be trading back and forth. When they get comfortable, they're going to bleed that clock. It's going to be tick, 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 and before you know it, the game is over, and they covered this point spread because they didn't give the ball back to Washington. And a lot of teams that face the Commanders, they constantly gave the ball back to them. The Eagles know how to manage the clock, and that will help them be successful.
You're right. But listen, Barkley's been carrying this team all year long, man. He just has been. These massive runs. He's like a hitter that's eventually going to hit a home run, and now he's hitting multiple home runs a game right now. It is scary. And Washington aren't very good against the run to begin with. So that's a big problem for them. And they're going to sell out. And listen, we've seen this before when teams, people said Buffalo aren't good against the run, and they contain Lamar and Henry. So like teams in the playoffs can mirror their weaknesses a little bit, but that means there's going to be something else open. And I kind of like where you're going, McKinnis, in which the Commanders are going to sell out big time, like Saquon this, Saquon that, make Jalen Hurts beat us. We'll let the cornerbacks play one-on-one coverage with the wide receivers, even though they're good, because we don't think Jalen Hurts can really beat us, and we're more worried about Saquon. But then what about Dallas Goedert being over the middle of the field after? What about Jalen Hurts? You're selling out on Saquon. What about Jalen Hurts running the ball on you after? I think it's going to be like whack-a-mole for the Commanders' defense. It could be a little bit of a problem. The only way the Commanders can do this is if they do what they did against Detroit. Just freaking ambush them and just score every time they get the football and force Philadelphia into a track meet, which is easier said than done.
You are correct. The one thing is, Gabe, this Commanders team has been good to me. They lost that. They won a game 33-30. Let's call it out for what it is. Jalen Hurts got hurt, but the Commanders also had 5 turnovers in that game. I could say this. They're getting better all the time. They're getting more confidence. But you know what? McKinnis brings up a good point. The one thing is, it's a way better matchup against Detroit because Detroit was so thin on the defense, they could do whatever the hell they want. Now you're fighting a different animal in Detroit. But these teams know each other, Gabe. I think it's going to be tight. I got to write. I'm actually surprised the line went up from 5.5 to 6. I see some places even have 6.5 because these guys know each other inside out. But I'm probably going to take the Commanders, Gabe. But you're right. The Eagles' defense is a hell of a lot different. Detroit's defense reeked, and they had major injuries.
And McKinnis, what do you think about the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs game?
Honestly, I don't have any real strong opinions on this game quite yet. I haven't locked any props in. There's one play I've been kind of leaning towards here, Gabe, and I'm not directly going against your guys, but the under 23.5 team total for the Buffalo Bills. So, hey, look, they could still win and go under my team total, but I think this game is going to be lower scoring. I think that there's going to be so much hype surrounding the game with the talent on both rosters, with Allen versus Mahomes. But I've said it on the show a couple times over the past few weeks. Guys, did Mahomes make the Pro Bowl this year? Has he been featured in a lot of all-star moments? Has he had a lot of highlights? This defense is really good. And this year they've gotten their flowers. They've gotten the recognition in the media finally. And I think that this game is going to be about their defense and about just basic play calling and not as much just these flashy plays. This isn't the Chiefs of 5 years ago. I know they've been so successful the past few years, but getting under 23.5, eliminating any point spread, eliminating who wins the game, I'm betting on the Chiefs defense. And that's kind of what I'm doing here, taking under 23.5 team total for the Buffalo Bills. What do you think, Gabe? Honestly, I know you're a fan, but to keep them under that, the game could still be successful for them.
I think if the Bills don't score 24 points, they're not going to win the football game. So, you're sort of hedging that. You think KC, I get it. You think KC are going to be able to shut them down. I don't think they will. I think the Bills, the Bills have been here before, and there's a different mentality to them. Like, they're going for it on fourth downs. Like, the Allen is just sort of, they're not going to be denied. And I think the Bills don't want to play like a 10-7 game with Kansas City. Kansas City does, right? I mean, the whole thing all the time, oh my goodness, and the Buffalo Sabres have broken through with the first goal of the game.
Don't worry about the Sabres, Morency. They take
all the
2
time.
or 3 goals. This is what the Sabres do, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, they always take a lead, and the Canucks always give a lead. I guess it was destined to be.
It was destined to be. You should have taken the Sabres in the first period, then you come back with Vancouver in the game.
2 minutes left in the first period. 2:26 if you're looking for another goal here.
Dude, they were beating the Seattle Kraken 3-1. Next thing you know, they're losing 6-3. I'm telling you, the Buffalo Sabres are the best first period team in the league, and watch them crap themselves after the intermission break. I don't know what happens to them, but all I know is one thing: they give up leads to everyone.
McKinnis, we got 30 seconds. What do you think now? Hey, guys, the Canucks are plus 120 right now. That's hard to pass up.
I might have to
plus
get
125. What do you think, McKinnis?
I think we jump in. They got to dig deep here this game.
Wow, Buffalo nearly scored again and make it 2-0. Thanks, Andrew. WagerTalk.com.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time. And I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
The Twisted Tuesday continues. This is SportsRage. Capitals are up 2-1 on the Oilers after 2 periods of play. Panthers have taken a 2-1 lead on the Anaheim Ducks late in the first period, and the Sabres scored late on Vancouver. Vancouver were minus 190 favorites. Now they're plus 125, losing 1-0 on their home ice after the first period. NBA basketball, kind of an ugly one here with the Lakers and Wizards. Lakers are laying 13.5. Wizards are up 8-4 early in this game. Total 222.5. Denver Nuggets up 46-32 on a visiting Philadelphia 76ers. They're laying 16.5 in-game blowout city in the NBA. 239.5 is the total, but got some good college stuff going on here. Wake Forest, North Carolina. We jumped in. We're on the over of the Wisconsin-UCLA game. It's 51-49 with 13 minutes left for the Bruins. Right now, we got a good one there. You got a good one going on with Mizzou and Texas. And we got UNLV coming up against Wyoming. We've got the Ducks and the Huskies at 11 o'clock Eastern. We'll get you some picks for that, and we'll get you some golf picks right now as the tournament starts on Wednesday this week instead of Thursday, so they avoid going head-to-head with the National Football League Conference Championships. How you doing, Brady? And did you watch and/or bet the TGL tonight? I actually did bet on the Atlanta Drive, and we cashed the ticket. At minus 110, too, was a pick 'em.
Good price.
Wow. I did not know that was a pick-em matchup. Yeah, I would have been on Atlanta as well. I just caught the last bit of it. Justin Thomas was very good. And, of course, Xander Schauffele, I believe, normally a part of that New York squad. He's out with injury, missed the last two tournaments, missed the American Express, and now going to miss the Farmers Insurance, like you say, beginning on Wednesday. But good bet by you. I know you've hit at least 2 out of 3. Maybe you're 3 for 3. And I do want to say, guys, I am honored. Normally a Wicked Wednesday guy making a cameo here on a Twisted Tuesday. Thank you very much.
Oh, we appreciate your time. And yeah, I am 2-1. You know what? I rolled the dice with Tiger Woods last week in the Jupiter Links.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Big mistake.
Yeah. Big price.
I reprimanded you for that. I forgot about that.
Yeah. I'm not going to get cute anymore moving forward. So I'm not.
Bet against Tiger the rest of the way.
Next week, it's actually on Monday. They're shaking it up.
Oh.
Next week, it's on Monday, and Rory hasn't made an appearance yet. So the Boston team will be playing next week for the record. But let's get down to business here. We'll get to the NFL in a couple of minutes, but let's open up with the golf and the Farmers Insurance. What do you think about this? What do you think about the tournament, Brady, and the field? What are your thoughts on this tournament?
Field's pretty good. It lost a little luster with Schauffele pulling out, and Colin Morikawa has withdrawn as well. I'm hearing rumors, I don't know if you've heard this, Cam, but the Genesis Invitational coming up in about a month, usually at Riviera Country Club in Pacific Palisades, California. We know that was really the heart of where the Los Angeles fires were. Now, Riviera was not damaged, thankfully, but just really no infrastructure there to hold a PGA Tour event. And I'm hearing they might hold it at Torrey Pines. So we start tomorrow. We might come back to Torrey a month from now, and maybe that's why Morikawa's not playing. Maybe that's why some of these guys are like, hey, I'm going to be there a month from now. I don't know. But I am hearing that is a possibility. But, the preseason's over. Cam, a couple of softies in Hawaii, a softie last week in the desert, and now it's big boy golf. Torrey Pines, almost 7,800 yards, a couple of U.S. Opens to his credit. Then we go for a signature event at Pebble, the Waste Management in Phoenix on Super Bowl Sunday, and then normally to Riviera, maybe back to Torrey. But yeah, this is, for me, it's like the regular season has begun. And this is kind of when I start diving in with head-to-head matchups and all the good stuff. The preseason, like I say, I kind of use these first 3 tournaments to just kind of figure out who's playing well, who looks good, who's off to a good start. And now we dive in and start playing for keeps.
Well, with no Xander and obviously with no Scheffler, these tournaments, they always provide a little bit of value. If you look at the odds board, I mean, you've got a couple of, there's a couple of low numbers, but pretty much everybody's in the 20s after you got Ludwig at 9-1, Hideki at 13, and then Sungjae 20, Zalatoris 24, Gracerman 27, Jason Day 27, Finau 30, and so forth. So we'll get right down to business. Who are you looking at, Brady?
Well, I played a lot of guys. I played 8 outrights this week, and I also played each one of them for a top 20 finish. Now, I typically don't land on 8 guys, outright, but I spent about the same amount of money because I only took 2 guys that are less than 50-1. Most of my guys were longer bombs. So the two shorter shots, I took Keegan Bradley and Tony Finau. These guys are just year in and year out contenders at this place. Multiple top 10s, multiple top 25s. I've got to figure I'm hoping at least I can cash a top 20 ticket with these guys, and hopefully they go one better. Cam, I don't know if you've noticed it, but there's something in the eyes of Keegan Bradley. Ever since he got that Ryder Cup captain, he's playing with an extra level of adrenaline this year, and he might just play himself onto the team. He might be captain and player all in one. The other guys, like I said, yeah, okay, yeah, and I'll get your thoughts in a minute. I'll run down the card here. Everybody else, like I say, 50-1 or higher. Started with Aaron Rai at 52, Bo Hostler at 55. Then I went to J.J. Spahn, a local kid, grew up in L.A., went to San Diego State. He's played this course 1,000 times. Got him at 60-1. Gary Woodland. I think, Cam, you'll know this as well. I think the most important stat this week is total driving. It's such a beast of a golf course. You got to hit it long and you got to hit it straight because the fairways are narrow.
I am worried a little bit quickly, Morency, about Gary Woodland. And I got a kind of a tear in my eye because I remember that story with the handicapped girl, and he's probably the nicest guy on tour, Gabe. Could have played basketball, but apparently he had that brain injury, and he said he's really worried about his health. And I don't know how much longer he's going to be able to go out there, Brady, but he was playing really good and getting better. But I saw an interview on Golf Channel, and he's kind of really worried because, and I talked to Lisa about it, my girlfriend who knows somebody with that. It's something that can come back. So I hope Gary's going to be okay because I worry about his future a little bit. That's all I'm saying on Golf Channel. They didn't dig into it, but it's a very serious situation.
He's definitely a feel-good story. I wish the best for him. What I was getting at, though, he's a tremendous total driver of the golf ball. And he did just finish 16th at the Sony. And then a couple of triple-digit bombs, Harris English at 110-1 and Henrik Norlander at 160-1.
More with Brady Cannon on the other side. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time, and I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because Scotty, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pits, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them. and everybody else in between. All right, we got Rick Saratella stepping up and in the 11 o'clock hour, so let's keep this rolling. With Brady. 2 quick questions for me, Brady. We'll get Cam Stewart's picks later. Hideki Matsuyama, you guys have seen how hot he's been. You and I have talked about him. He was dominant. He's been dominant over the last couple of months, Brady. Are the odds just too low for you? And me personally, a player, speaking of the TGL, who played well at the TGL for the record, but he also played well on the DP Tour and pretty good form and getting 45-1 on Shane Lowry right now.
Yeah. Shane Lowry just comes off of a good tournament on the DP World Tour as well, and I've seen him as a popular pick around certain circles. I mean, I love Lowry. He's very accurate off the tee.
45-1.
He certainly fits the mold of
top 20. For a top 20, not even a top 10.
That's not bad either. He's a great scrambler, and he's good with total driving. So those are a couple of boxes that you have to check this week, in my opinion, and Shane Lowry does so. Matsuyama, I love the guy to death. He got me a win a couple weeks ago at Kapalua, right? And he is certainly a good total driver and a tremendous scrambler. Oddly enough, he doesn't have a great history here. I think he's only got like one top 10 finish in his career here. So I stayed away from Hideki. He's tremendous at a couple of these events upcoming. We're not going to be at Riviera. He won there last year, but he's won, I think, twice at Phoenix, the Phoenix Open coming up on Super Bowl Sunday or Super Bowl weekend.
They should move the Genesis to the TGL course. Make everybody play there.
There you
go. Force everybody to do it.
That's amazing.
So the NFL playoffs, there was so much talk on Saturday, obviously, about the officials in the Kansas City, Texas game.
Disgusting.
And I think the NFL has taken notice of it due to the fact. So Clete Blakeman has been assigned the referee, and our boy Joe Gibbs, NFL Ref Stats 1 on Twitter, does a great job breaking down the numbers. And, as far as the Chiefs are concerned, this is about as bad as it's going to get for them. So Clete Blakeman doing the game. The Chiefs are 5-6 straight up and 4-6-1 against the spread with Clete Blakeman as the referee. He hasn't worked one of their games since 2023 when they lost to the Raiders on Christmas Day. And then we get into, this is something that KC fans will hang their hat on, though, as far as roughing the passer. So Clete Blakeman calls roughing the passer a lot. And how about Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes have been the beneficiaries of a combined 172 unnecessary roughing the passer penalties since 2018. The Bills, 59% of them, 41% for the Chiefs. But Clete Blakeman leads the National Football League in unnecessary roughness penalties this year, actually. So some interesting data as far as the refs are concerned. How do you feel about the Bills and the KC game, Brady? Another 1.5 point spread for the Buffalo Bills being underdogs, just like they were against Baltimore.
Well, I made Buffalo a 1.5 point favorite, but I know the books can't hang that because they would be so inundated with Chiefs money. I think the books do believe that this game is closer to pick 'em from a power rating standpoint, but I feel that they had to make the Chiefs a favorite because they always find a way to win at home. You know the routine here. But if you believe in conspiracy theories and the referees and all that, I think you might be right, Gabe, that the NFL is kind of they've heard from the American people, and I think they're kind of citing. I think they wouldn't mind seeing Buffalo win either. I mean, it seems like everybody outside of the greater Kansas City area is rooting for Buffalo, and everybody loves Josh Allen and the Bills. They're a very public team as well. So I think, from that standpoint, the tables could turn here. Now, just the X's and O's and the trenches where the game's decided, I think Buffalo is clearly the better team. It's teaser season for me. I took them all the way to +8.5. There's a lot of twos out there, not just 1.5. There's a lot of twos out there in favor of the Chiefs. So a 6.5 point teaser. I took the Bills all the way to the other side at 8, +8.5, and I combined it with the Commanders. Now, I think the Eagles will probably win that game, but I don't think they're winning by 12.5 points.
The Washington Commanders kind of playing with house money right now. The pressure's all on the Philadelphia Eagles. And if the Commanders can get the Eagles sort of in a track meet and force them to throw the football, they could really have them on the ropes, I think.
Well, it's a division game, right? It's the third time we've seen this matchup this season. The Commanders were dominating the first game. They won the second game despite 5 turnovers. I love Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury in division games against a familiar opponent. I think it's going to be a tight contest. The number's probably about right. Somewhere between 4.5 and 6.5 is probably the accurate number in this spread, in this game. So I'll tease it. 12.5. Give me the Commanders.
Thanks for joining us on a Tuesday night this week, Brady. Awesome stuff.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all. Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time. And I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because, you know, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. The pits, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. Let's do this thing. The Twisted Tuesday continues. Our boy Mo Khan stepping up and in. Rick Saratella on the radar. We've got Australian Open tennis. Last night we talked about liking Djokovic, and the Joker got it done as an underdog. And, of course, it was an epic match. It went over the 40.5. But we got women's action going on right now that we've got our eye on. And Swiatek won the first set, but Navarro's battling back here in the second. I actually have Swiatek in a parlay with the men. So let's check in with the scores here right now. It's 3-2, whatever. So Navarro's down 3-2 in the second. She lost the first set. Swiatek is actually now 66-1 on the money line. For the hardcores, if you're laying it down, you've got the mixed doubles, Cash and Glasspool, and Krywitz and Puetz going at it right now. And a little mixed doubles action. But we've got that the men's coming up as well, Cam, that we talked about last night. This is what I ended up parlaying. I took Swiatek, parlayed with Ben Shelton and Yannick Sinner, and it's not a great price. It came down to like minus 163 or something like that, 164. So I got a 3-team banger, 3-player banger for minus 164. Not great odds, but Swiatek was a massive favorite. And I do expect Shelton and Sinner both to win tonight.
With you 100%. I think Shelton will take it done. Sonengo's good, but Shelton is a better player right now, and he's playing great tennis. As for Sinner, he's going up against Alex de Minaur, who is Australian and playing very good tennis, but he's also played a lot of games, Gabe, and Sinner's just an absolute beast, one of the best in the world, if not the. You could say, like, he is the top notch, and I know you wish you got better on your parlay. I like it, and Djokovic right now for that semifinal match is $160 against Zverev. That should be an absolute epic beast of a match, and kudos to us last night and your boy Mateus for taking the Joker. His fitness was good, and he got it done. Djokovic looked great, Gabe.
Yeah, Alcaraz, I like Alcaraz.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't want to say Alcaraz is too much of a nice kid or something, but I don't know if he needs a little bit more, I don't know if he needs to hate to lose. I don't know if he needs to hate to lose a little bit more, but if you're Alcaraz, you want to start to get this thing going a little bit. You know what I mean? Joker, like I said, I brought it up last night. Djokovic had beaten him 3 of the last 4 times that they played. And now that's 4 of the last 5 times they played. It's got a little bit of that Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes thing going. Alcaraz is losing to Joker when it counts the most. All right, we got Rick Saratella ready to roll. We got a lot of football talk with Rick Saratella. Let's do this thing. To kick off the National Football League. We're down to the final 4. Let's do this thing. Let's bring in Rick Saratella, allaccessfootball.com, the founder of the NFL Draft Bible, and more. Rick, always a pleasure, my man. Thanks a lot for stepping up and in. How you doing tonight?
Oh, man, all pumped up, man. We got playoff football. We got national championship. We got 3 months to the draft. It's a great time to be alive.
Let's start off with the national championship, actually. The Ohio State Buckeyes, who many thought had the best roster coming into the season, close it out, win the national championship. Numerous players on their team will be, will be impact players in the National Football League. But I thought if there was one player that sort of helped himself a lot last night to remind people that, hey, I'm a quarterback too, was Will Howard. I mean, he couldn't have played any better, Rick. The accuracy, the big throws, the throw with the game on the line to Jeremiah Smith, the all-or-nothing play, the play call from Chip Kelly and Ryan Day had to be executed, and Howard pulled it off. Listen, I never really thought much of Will Howard, in the big picture of things, but you gotta tip your cap and say, listen, this kid just played elite football at the highest level in the biggest game of the year.
Big throws, pocket passer, strong arm, clutch plays, big platform, tons of experience. At what point do you start thinking about Will Howard in the National Football League draft? I mean, it's a thin draft. I think at some point on day 2, you're thinking about, hey, if I like that style, that pocket passer that can make all the throws, you're thinking about Will Howard. And I'll tell you another thing, Gabriel Morency. I liked Riley Leonard, man. Minus all the big play weaponry and the 2-headed monster backfield attack, Riley Leonard, I thought, looked poised. He came out of the gates gunning. He was under control. And listen, he just didn't have the big play threats, and maybe there's some limitations with the arm strength. But I think Riley Leonard is a guy who could play in the National Football League for a decade as a backup, work the short to intermediate parts of the field. And you look at the way his dual threat mobility, he had 17 carries, maybe 40, 50 yards rushing. When he needs to move the chains, he can. So I think both Will Howard, Riley Leonard, 2 guys I'm looking forward to down there at the Senior Bowl.
One thing about Riley Leonard, too, there's the criticism of, well, he can't throw the football very well. And he threw the ball at Duke a little bit more. And as you just stated, listen, that Great House kid really stepped up in this football game last night, right? So Notre Dame has a target moving forward a bit. But if there was a weakness to Notre Dame's roster, Rick, it was their wide receivers, right? They just don't have the big play capability. So with people talking about, oh, Notre Dame can't throw the ball, I don't think that's all on Riley Leonard that they can't throw the ball.
Well, I thought when in the second half you saw him have to throw the ball, he was accurate down the field. And Bo Collins, let's be honest, if he was on Ohio State, he's not even seeing the field. Okay, he's their top receiver on Notre Dame. So I like Riley Leonard. I think both of those guys are going to have an opportunity down there in Mobile. And I want to say Quinshawn Judkins. This guy had 3 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns in the college football playoffs. He can do it all. You saw him catch the ball, miss the tackle, slip, slide. Boom, down the field, first down, touchdown. This guy, not only that, he blocks. Did you see 2 games ago in the playoffs, he put somebody on his ass blocking for his Henderson. Both of those guys, Henderson and Judkins. I like these guys.
I like Judkins a lot as well. Very aggressive. He was actually one of the – it's funny, like Caleb Downs, who was also a transfer portal player from Alabama, and Judkins from Mississippi, they were kind of like leaders on this team. Like, you know what I mean? Like an emotional spark. Judkins was always like, you know, on the sidelines, really fired up, very, very vocal. And speaking of Caleb Downs as well, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle when you're a safety, but this guy made some really, really big plays for them. Like, I don't think they win the championship in the big picture without Caleb Downs and another player that should be a really good player in the National Football League.
Well, I'm telling you, this Ohio State team is just loaded. You got Jeremiah Smith on offense. You got Downs on defense. Both of these guys are going to probably be top 5 selections. So Ohio State's not going anywhere. I'm sure they'll go find themselves a quarterback in the transfer portal and reload and be back in contention. And I know they got the odds out for the 2026 national championship already. You know, the college football landscape is changing. It's going to be an interesting dynamic. But, man, Ohio State is loaded. Notre Dame, it kind of went the way we saw it. Like, they can keep it close. They just didn't have the firepower to have that big play threats and get chunk yardage when they needed it.
You know what's crazy? We've always had, like, the future championship odds. You know, those are up all year immediately following the championship game. But in the old days, Rick, it used to be a big deal. The Golden Nugget of Las Vegas would release point spreads for like the college football games of the year, like all the big college football games on the upcoming schedule. And they would do that in like June. And it would be a big deal. Oh, you know, the Golden Nugget lines of the games of the year, and the lines are coming out. There's a line up already right now for Ohio State and Michigan. That game's next November. For the record, the Ohio State Buckeyes are 8.5-point favorites. You got point spreads up for all the week 1 game.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The Twisted Tuesday continues. This is Sports Rage, Sports Grid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. I am Gabriel Morency. We're breaking it down with Rick Saratella. So, Rick, what did you think of Ben Johnson deciding to take the Chicago Bears job?
Well, sometimes the best moves you make are the ones you don't make. And in this case for Tom Brady, I think he dodged a bullet. And I think Ben Johnson maybe didn't want to be in that shadow of a Tom Brady. But also, I'm looking at it like, how are you giving this guy $15 million plus a year? Are you kidding me? Honestly, I thought Ben Johnson was a big reason why the Detroit Lions lost that NFC playoff game. I thought he got a little bit too cute and fancy. He thought he was on the big
having
stage.
Williams throw the ball, bro, was like, that's unexcusable.
God. Yeah,
you're down by 10 with 10 minutes left. Your season's on the line, and you're moving the ball. You got a little more. You're moving the ball, and you run that play.
You're going deep into your bag of tricks like, hey, look at me. I'm on the big stage. I'm going to be okay. I got a job waiting for me. And I thought he cost the Lions. Look at Cliff Kingsbury. He said, you know what? I'm going to wait until after the playoffs to interview with teams. You want me to be your head coach? You wait until we're done. Ben Johnson's out here interviewing with X, Y, and Z. Hey, you know what? Listen, I think Ben Johnson cost the Detroit Lions. I'm not a big fan giving an unproven guy a top 5 salary in the head coaching ranks. Get out of town. I hope it works with him. He better have I know he's got a big ego, but he better have a way of coddling a Caleb Williams, because he needs not only physical tools and coaching up, but a mental coaching aspect element with the guy like that as well. And I think it's a very delicate situation with the Caleb Williams, who's now going to be on 3 or 4 signal callers now as he starts his second season. That's a recipe for disaster, folks.
For me, it's more, and I don't have a problem. I don't have any. I think Caleb's will be fine as long as it's not a circus around him. But just because, and listen, Ben Johnson, as you stated, he was he always thought he was the smartest guy in the room. Always, pushes the chips in with the trick plays and this and that. There was a time and place for it. But, I've always been kind of baffled by it in a way, Rick, like the NFL's process in which teams just repeat the same mistakes over and over. And that just because you're a good coordinator doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. You know what I mean? And there's always this sort of, this coordinator, and it's just next in line always when you're a coordinator. And being a head coach of an NFL room is really more about like the attitude of the team, running the room, kind of instilling a little bit of fear, but also respect. You know what I'm saying? Like McDaniels. I think McDaniels is a smart guy, but I think McDaniels is born to be a coordinator. I don't think a guy walking around with khakis and just his attitude and stuff is going to scare players enough. You know what I mean, Rick? Kyle Turley once told me, I said, imagine like Rex Ryan was up for a job once, and I asked Turley, I said, I imagine you'd like Rex, and play for Rex. And he goes, I love Rex. I've had drinks with him. But he goes, his teams aren't disciplined. He goes, Rex is too much of a fan. He's yelling at the refs all the time. And it's true. You look at Rex's team. When he was coach of the Bills, we led the league in penalties. Right? People are like, Rex ain't going to get mad at me. He's too busy like yelling at the ref himself, right? You've been around coaches. You need to have a little bit of fear, at least in the room with the players.
Yeah, and I think a guy like Dan Quinn, who had to go and have some humble pie, go and be a defensive coordinator for a couple years, and then get his chance again, I think you're seeing that kind of come to fruition now about learning from past experiences. And maybe a guy like Steve Spagnuolo, who gets no interviews, who's been a head coach previously.
It's pretty wild, yeah.
And he doesn't even get mentioned. Right. And I just find it fascinating. You're right. Everything is about the new flavor of the week. Who's the young, hot, up and coming name? I think there's something to be said. Listen, say what you want about Raheem Morris. I thought he did a pretty good job in Atlanta this past season. And he was a guy that had to bide his time and wait patiently. And I think the Falcons are going to be better for it. So I think, there's a million ways to skin a cat. I think there's been 2 or 3 head coaching vacancies filled, and we've got quite a few handful to go.
All right, so looking at Washington and Philadelphia, can Washington's Cinderella story continue all the way to the Super Bowl? Listen, there's a couple of potential Super Bowl rematches here, right? With Philadelphia, Kansas City, Washington, and Buffalo going back to 1991, Rick, as well, which Buffalo and Washington fans would clearly take at this stage. The Commanders are getting 6 points against Philadelphia. What are your thoughts on the NFC Conference Championship game? Who do you like?
The Commanders are just too young to not know what they don't know. I have a tough time going against Philly at home, though. They're just built for this situation. Jaden Daniels' time is going to come. I know Hurts has been a little bit shaky, a little bit banged up. They're giving him some good medicine. I saw him on those post-game interviews, all giddy. Whatever he's taking, it must be some good stuff. Give me Philadelphia in a close one. This game could go either way, though.
Yeah, the home field advantage should make a difference. Philadelphia, I always find, they're not invincible, but they're hard to beat, and they just do enough to win, right? They're going to make the play that they have to. It's very KC-like. They're going to, they if it's 3rd and 6, they get 7. If they, you know what I mean? If everybody's covered, Hurts is going to find a way to run for it. And then really you've got Saquon Barkley, who's just been, carrying his football team with the big runs. And Washington are a little bit vulnerable to that. Should be a fun game, and it wouldn't be a surprise if this game is super close, though, guys. And then you get the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs again. Buffalo have been able to beat them in the regular season routinely, but they've fallen short in the playoffs against Kansas City. Being a lifelong Bills fan, I sort of get the feeling I can see this. You can see it with the team. It's a different Bills team. There's a different edge to this team right now. Do you think they can finish this off and beat the Kansas City Chiefs and the referees?
Yeah, that's the X factor. And every time I pick against the Chiefs, it's those damn refs that do me dirty. Now, I wouldn't advise putting money against the Chiefs because of that factor, but I'm going with the Bills. Circle the wagons. I'm feeling something magical like you. I think it's a mystical, magical carpet ride in Buffalo. I really like the way they're trending. I don't see how they can be stopped, except for the referees now. But give me Josh Allen. I liked how they beat the Chiefs earlier in the season. I think they also beat the Lions. I know it's difficult to beat the same team twice, regular season, postseason, but Buffalo is on a trajectory for a magical.
Everybody's just stepping up. Von Miller with the big plays. People don't talk about James Cook in the ground game. Josh Allen won't be denied. Rick Zaratella, allaccessfootball.com. Check it out. This is SportsRage. Bring it.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time. And I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because Scotty, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Let's roll. Thanks to Rick Saratella for joining us on the program. I am Gabriel Morency, SportsGrid Radio and Television Network, Sirius XM, Channel 159. The Vancouver Canucks, Elias Pettersson, has just scored for the Canucks. Vancouver now up 2-1 after spotting the Sabres an early goal. Or I should say the Sabres scored with 2 minutes left in the first period, the first goal of the game. But as I was saying, and a lot of times you see that when a team gets shut down in the first period, they score early in the second period, and Vancouver have scored twice. So they're up 2-1 right now. The Panthers are up 3-2 still on the Ducks right now. So we've got some goals being scored in that game, 6.5 left in the second period to play. Meanwhile, the Capitals are up 3-2 on the Oilers with 5 minutes left in the game. NBA basketball, the Wizards have been hanging around with the Lake Show so far tonight, getting 13.5 points. But the Lakers have just gone on a run. They're up 45-35. They're currently laying 12.5 right now. The total is 220.5. And we got a super high number, 258.5, a track meet right now in a Mile High City, 84-71 for the Nuggets with 9.5 left in the third quarter of play. So they're up to 155 points in-game total, 258.5. UCLA are hanging on over Wisconsin. We gave you the over 142. It's easily sailed over the number. It's 81-76 right now with $1.40 left. 11-11 early, BYU, Colorado. We don't have any action on that. We do have the Washington Huskies plus the 13 against the Ducks. Washington are up 17-11. We got the over 146. It's 141.5 right now. And UNLV and Wyoming are tied at 9. Mo Cotto will join us in a couple of minutes. So let's get to Cam Stewart's golf picks this week. We already had Brady Cannon on the show. The Atlanta Drive won the TGL tonight, but we got the Farmers Insurance Open from Torrey Pines. Let's rock. What do you got, Cam?
Yeah, Gabe, it's going to be a great tournament this week, and we talked to Brady about it. A lot of guys with great histories there, and I like what you were saying about Hideki. I have him for a top 10, but we'll get into the picks right now. Let's start things off. Brady and I both had one guy similar, Keegan Bradley. Keegan Bradley, we talk about Ryder Cup captain. This guy's got game, and he's playing really, really well. And Brady's right. He's going to play his way onto the team. He wants to earn it himself, and he can. He's playing great golf this year, consistently in the top 10. Jason Day, Gabe, we have a blast from the past at the Aussie Open here. Jason Day almost won last week when Sepp Straka won. Most underrated guy going. Great tournament by Sepp Straka, but Jason Day was in the mix. And right now, I think he's there at that price at 28-1. And he's also won twice at Torrey Pines before. A couple other guys that I have on my list. Good prices. Brady and I have the same guy. Aaron Rai, top in driving accuracy on the PGA Tour. A couple Ryan Gingers at, what do we got here? 55-1. Forgot about my buddy, Max Gracerman. Almost won last week. He was right there at the top, finished 6th. All he does, top 10, 6. This kid is the next deal, Gabe, I'm telling you. And at 28-1, I don't want to be off him when he wins. He's a very, very good player. Jagerbaum, close to me before with a top 3, 65-1. And this guy from the European Tour, I told you guys about Nicholas Norgard. He finished 4th last week when Ty Hatton won. He's 90-1, bringing his show to America. 4 Danes in the top 20 last week. Nicholas Norgard is the most underrated of them all. Now we're going to talk about top 10s. Ludwig Aberg, top 10. He is the favorite in the tournament. I'll take him plus 120. Gabe, your guy, Hideki. This guy can win the tournament, but for a top 10, plus 140. Zalatoris, getting close. Not sure if he's going to win, but I love him for a top 20 at plus 120. Shane Lowry, the Irish Bear, you mentioned him. Good in the TGL, also great at this track. What does he do? Hit it straight. Bombs the ball. It's all about his putter, plus 150. Taylor Pendrith is playing great golf. The Canadian is plus 150 for a top 20. Will absolutely love this course due to his length. And Taylor Moore finished 11th last week. Top 20 plus 310 is an incredible number for one of the most underrated players in America. I got a couple first-round leaders for you too, Gabe, on both courses. We're playing Torrey Pines North and Torrey Pines South. So guys that I have on my list right now, I have Mark Hubbard in the cupboard. Actually, who else do I have here, Morency? Let me see here. I have a few other guys here on the top. You guys have first round leaderboards or no? Or else I'm just going to go off the top of my head here. We have Mark Hubbard at 40-1. Sam Ryder's on the Storm at 55. I like him as well. And that's actually those are the outrights there. And first round leader, what else do we have? Oh, yeah, thank you. Charlie Hoffman, 50-1 for first round leader. Rye, 35. Keegan Bradley is 25. And on the South Course, Thomas Dietrich at 35, Hubbard at 40, and Sam Ryder at 55. I apologize, guys. I wasn't sure. But the top three guys are on the North Course, and the bottom three, Gabe, are on the South Course. 2 courses for the opening round. Let's rock.
All right. There's Cam's Farmers Insurance golf picks. I like that Shane Lowry price, top 20, plus 150. Great price. Yeah, 45-1. He is in really good current form. Played really well on the DP Tour. Looked good at the TGL 2 weeks ago. So 45-1 catches my eye. Keegan Bradley's definitely one of those hipster trendy picks this week, though. Yeah.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time. And I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because, Scotty, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. A lot of action going on tonight for a Tuesday night in the late night hours. College basketball getting ready to take center stage now with the National Football League season winding down. It's crazy to believe that there's only 3 NFL games left. We got the 2 games this weekend, and then, of course, the Super Bowl. I've said this before. And listen, the National Football League makes like $20 billion a year, so they don't really need my advice with anything. But I don't understand why, and it's strange to me that if you look at the National Football League, especially now in the modern NFL, under Goodell over the last couple of years, I mean, we're playing games on Fridays in Brazil. We're playing on Wednesdays on Christmas. We have playoff games on Monday Night Football. For the love of God, like, why wouldn't you have, and I've been saying this for a couple of years now, why wouldn't you make one conference championship game on Saturday and the other game on Sunday instead of having them both on Sunday? And then you would have football all weekend because people want to see football. And who cares? There's no advantage. Like, dude, there's a stupid bye week anyways. Ooh, they've got 14 days to 13 days. Yeah, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? If you're crying about that at that point, it's like you got a problem. You're worried. You know what I mean? You got bigger problems and worried about, there's 14 to 13 days. It's like, yeah, whatever. So no one cares. No one cares about that. I find it strange. Like, and especially the NFL, like they're leaving this Saturday open. And the NFL is all about owning everything all the time. So it's baffling to me that they give up this Saturday. We bring in Mo Conda right now, TSN statistician, former wide receiver, play-by-play voice in the CEBL. Good to see you, Mo. And I was just saying, I don't understand how the NFL, they want to be on TV all the time, why they don't just put one of the conference championship games on Saturday and the other one on Sunday. And just freaking rotate every year. With the AFC and the NFC, whatever, one team gets, you get to 14 to 13 days in between games, Mo. Who cares? It's not like it's an advantage. I don't understand why they don't do it, considering we have freaking playoff games on Monday night right now.
I mean, it makes sense, guys, right, to do it on a Saturday, Sunday, but you get a bigger TV number on a Sunday than you would on a Saturday. So that's why you prefer to have that type of format. But then you're going to have the argument.
I think the NFL's too big to fail, Mo.
I
people
agree,
would watch
Dave,
on a Saturday.
sure.
Like other leagues, it's like, but no, with them, it's like, not really. Put it on Saturday night. You're going to have 48 million people watching.
For sure. But now, now the thing is, though, guys, right, with the NFL pretty much hogging all of January for playoff football, the college football game on Monday lost its luster, right? So does college football go maybe on the Thursday? Because those 4 games we had over the weekend were fantastic, and Notre Dame, Ohio State became a back burner topic for those watching that game on Monday night. So I think for the NFL, if you go Saturday, Sunday, it can work. But the question now is that, are you going to open it up for bidding? Because remember, guys, they opened up for Amazon. They opened up for Peacock. They got a lot more money from those streaming services to work with. So you never know. The NFL in 3 years can reopen that TV contract that they signed 2 years ago and get more money out of it because of what they're doing so far with the current TV number.
Years ago, this is when Kyler Murray was still in college. I remember it was the first time they played on New Year's Eve. And ESPN told the college football playoff committee, listen, this is a bad idea. Like, we really should not be playing these games on New Year's Eve. It's going to hurt. And the head of the committee told them people would watch college football if their houses were on fire on the 4th of July. And ESPN suits were like, yeah, we'll see about this. Like, they got into an argument with them about it. And the numbers were not good on New Year's Eve. And like you just said, Mo, there was a buzz amongst the alumni of these teams. Like, it was a hot ticket. It was like $2,000 to get to the stadium, which is unheard of, actually. So props to Notre Dame and Ohio State fans. But nationally, there was no buzz about it, right? There just wasn't. And you're playing on a Monday night. It's so too drawn out that, it used to be also, Monday night the 9th or the 8th. Now it's the 20th. And you got the NFL games, which are going to take up all the oxygen in the room. And then on the Monday that you're playing your championship game, everybody's just recapping the NFL games. And then they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, there's this college football game tonight. I think your idea is a great idea. You jam it into the Thursday night before. You don't have such a layoff in between the national championship game either. It's too drawn out. You jam it up, and it's sort of like college first, like normal on Saturday, and then NFL. So people will talk about the college football championship game on the Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, going into it or whatnot, and then the NFL could take over. But they did get buried, and for the record, they didn't. The college football committee is also already conceding that it was a bad idea to go up against the NFL with their playoff game. Like, they didn't, like, it hurt the college. The NFL won. It hurt the college football numbers that Saturday that they messed with the NFL.
It was also, Gabe, Monday night, Martin Luther King Day, where both leagues and other leagues were playing. The Australian, it's supposed to be a standalone game for the kids. And we've talked about this before where, you know what, it's a special thing. They had NBA, NHL, Australian Open tennis. Like, I was looking at the sports card that night.
Well, even NCAA basketball played. Even the NCAA played against it, right? They didn't even step down.
Big mistake.
I thought about that, actually, with the NCAA. I found it interesting. I looked. I'm like, man, you got a bunch of college basketball games going on during the college football playoff game. But the NCAA, doesn't control the college football playoff. And in fact, the college football playoff guys hate the NCAA or are at war with them. So the NCAA, I'm surprised, Mo. Cam, the NCAA didn't book like Kansas versus like Duke on the same time. You know what I mean? It's like, you guys, all right, we'll see you. You know, you guys want to run your own? Because people don't realize that. Everyone thinks the NCAA. The NCAA runs the North Dakota state playoffs. They run the FCS playoffs. Right. They don't have anything to do with this. Like the powers that be in college football basically said, screw you. We're just going to do our own thing. And what are you going to do to stop us? You can't stop us. Yeah, like the NCAA has zero power over the college football playoffs. None. Yeah. They don't book the stadiums. They don't pick the teams. They don't make a cent. And that's another thing. How about that, Mo, with Notre Dame keeping the $20 million? That's amazing. Funny how money will always bother people, huh? It's like, they should be playing. And what it really comes down to is like Notre Dame got to keep $20 million by themselves. There's your payroll for next year, Mo, if you're Notre Dame. Yep.
Well, the thing is that idea of independent, remember, they're saying it's going to be extinct, right? You have to join a conference. Well, now you might have teams say, because look, guys, the reality is college football will become an ASC, NFC style in college football, right? You're going to have teams become independents from each other, try to maximize their value, because if you're Alabama, Georgia, Texas, USC, whoever, those big brand names, guess how much money you can get if you were independent being a TV rights holder for them? That would be a lot of money for them to go through. But again, if you're Notre Dame, you're win or lose, you still won because you got 20 million reasons to be happy from what you got from that game on Monday night.
And all you got to do is be in the top 12 every year, and you're going to make the playoffs. And you don't have to play in a conference championship game. So, like, you have the best of both worlds. You get to keep the money. So, to put in context, guys, Notre Dame got $20 million for last night for making it to the championship game. Ohio State gets money as well, but Ohio State has to share it with the Big Ten schools. So like Northwestern, like every Rutgers gets a check. Hell, Michigan gets a piece. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the money. Right?
Thanks
like
twice.
They got to split. Yeah, they got to split the money. Meanwhile, Notre Dame are like, it makes people mad. Right. They're like, Notre Dame will make $20 million. That's like Ohio State spent 20. Think about that, Cam. All the money Notre Dame's already making from NBC, they're not sharing any money with anybody. Their stadium money, their merchandise money, and now they just got another $20 million check. Like it now, and how about this too? That Nick Saban thinks there should be revenue sharing now because it's unfair. Yeah, you never thought it was unfair when you were outbidding people before NIL. Like it's comical.
UConn, if they qualify for the playoffs, imagine if they run the table for football, they would get all that money being independent in football as well. So, hey, why not be independent?
That's not going to happen. That's not happening. UConn's not making it. It's a miracle. They did make the Orange Bowl once or something.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He did nothing for 5 weeks. So he's becoming his brother. So I don't want to hear about how great TJ Watt is with his 0 playoff wins. And he's the first guy to admit it. He comes right out and says, I've never won a playoff game. I don't matter. All right, at least we all know who the best player on the team is. It's George Pickens. If you don't believe that, well, then screw you, too.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Real momentum on Deion Sanders becoming the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I heard that this morning.
And Dallas is interested in the idea. Deion is interested in the idea. And there is equal interest in moving up to get Shedeur Sanders to be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys under Deion.
be a hell of a reality show.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP in the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP in the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. So as I was saying about Nick Saban, and now he's not coaching, he's got takes on everything, and I do respect him, but one of the reasons why he left, it's the same thing with like Larinaga at Miami. Oh, I just can't deal with this modern stuff. Well, why didn't you leave before the year? Like if you weren't 4-9, you probably wouldn't have quit. Like if you were winning, and you'd have problems, taking players from FSU before. Now you don't like it that you're losing players or your players want money, but Nick Saban was talking now this week about how, and I'm not going to disagree, only in the sense of the money's getting crazy, right? Like when Mensa's getting $8 million, the quarterback from Tulane to go to Duke. I mean, where are we going to be in 5-10 years from now? What, $20 million for a college quarterback? So I understand there's got to be some sort of like, limit to the insanity of it. But Alabama was like the first one, guys. They paid Tua like $1 million. And I remember Saban even told people about it. Oh, our quarterback's got $1 million because he wanted other people to know you're going to make money if you go there. And Alabama always had an advantage over people before because of the football aspect of it. Because Saban could get you to the NFL. You were going to win games, but more importantly, then Saban even admits it. He goes, I got kids to the NFL, and players will want to play and want to go to the NFL. They'll go to Alabama. Now, with the money, and me and Brent Beard talked about this, guys, Alabama can't keep up. Like you're going to see as years go on. Look, the Big Ten's already won the last 2 championships. Alabama, the state itself, guys, it's not rich enough. And then you throw in the fact you've got Auburn in here, and people don't realize this because Alabama are more successful on the field, but Auburn are a lot richer than Alabama are. So, like, Alabama are up against Auburn. Auburn have deep pockets, man. Like Steve Jobs, Apple, like there's a bunch of, like, serious billionaires that have gone to Auburn. Alabama doesn't have that. They used to, and so now Alabama's starting to cry about unfairness and stuff and recruiting and stealing their players. You guys never had a problem taking players from other teams. Right now, it's catching up to you a little bit. So the hypocrisy is pretty big, but college football is the Wild West now. I can't dispute it. I mean, it's getting insane.
Right, Gabe. Think about Michigan, how much money they have. That institution, they're loaded. Like, they have everything, right? Like, Ohio State, you're right. That's a great point by you because Alabama, you think about them, but
well, it really comes down to now who are your boosters now? Who are your rich alum? Yes. And Michigan have a passionate base that are putting money in, but as you stated, Mo, exactly. Stephen Ross, one of the richest men in America, owns the Miami Dolphins, but he owns Hudson Yards in New York City, biggest real estate development in U.S. history. Like he owns the guy is a serious player. He's hell, he didn't hire Harbaugh as coach of the Dolphins because he didn't want to hurt Michigan. That's how much he loves Michigan. He's like, no, I won't hire Harbaugh because I don't want to hurt the Michigan Wolverines. Then he already had a coach when Harbaugh came out. But then you got the other guy, Ellison, who is the owner and the head of Oracle, right? Wow. And he's the one, his wife is a Michigan fan and alum. And they were the ones that basically put it over the top and put the money on the table to get Underwood. And now the money's just flowing in from everywhere. But nevertheless, so quickly on that, Mo, the college football season, I say quickly because I hate talking about Ohio State being good, but props to them. They won the national championship. Good for them.
Hey, $20 million bought you a championship. But you know what? They were, look, guys, aside from the hiccups that they had against Oregon and Michigan, you think about that moment, right? That flag planting galvanized that team, and they went on the run and ended up being the national champions, right? You imagine how that was, guys, right, for Ohio State to see what Michigan did to them 2 months ago. But this Ohio State team, Downs, you look at Smith, you look at that receiving core, that is a loaded team. And if they can go out there and get themselves another quarterback to work with for next fall, I mean, they could run it back again, guys, because they got some key returns coming back to that roster at the skill positions. And look, they're going to lose some guys in the D-line, but there's no doubt in my mind that Ohio State will be some of the top 5 and be in that conversation next fall, that they could be a playoff team and maybe be in the Final Four, maybe be back in the finals as they were on Monday.
It's pretty wild. There's already a point spread for the Ohio State-Michigan game up for next year. Ohio State are 8.5-point favorites at Michigan. So the odds makers just don't learn. They don't learn 4 years in a row.
We're going to home dog 8.5. Craig, click it now.
Michigan points.
They got numbers up already. So, Mo, I'll ask you. What did you think of the officiating in the Kansas City and Houston game? Were you with everybody else that thought it was egregious and too one-sided for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Look, Jordan got calls, LeBron got calls, Brady got calls. Like the idea that Mahomes paying these referees is nonsensical, guys. Okay, it happens, and the reality is that in this situation now, the quarterback position changed in 2008 when Pollard hit Tom Brady in the knee and ended his season. The NFL said no more of that stuff. We got to protect our prized assets in that position here, and you have to be careful. And the reality is, Texas might say, "Oh, the referees cost the game." Well, the reality is your O-line was terrible all season long. Your defense was inconsistent. C.J. Stroud played better, but he was inconsistent all season long here. So you got to blame the fact that your own infrastructure was not great enough to win that football game on Saturday. So I don't blame the referees. Chiefs have a great defense, but I can't wait for that heavyweight fight on Sunday afternoon when they play the Bills down in KC.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll, like you said, the champions are always going to get some calls here and there. It's always been that way with the star quarterback.
The thing about Mahomes,
the Texans don't have juice though either, guys. Right? They don't have a big fan base. They don't have anything people like Josh Allen. And all eyes are on this. Dude, they made Clete Blakeman the referee, who Patrick Mahomes has his worst record against. They're actually 5-6 straight up with Blakeman. Clearly, the NFL does not want people talking about bias.
No, we don't. And the thing is, though, Mahomes, Gabe, the one point you brought up about the guns, that's 15 yards. He got away. But these guys made mistakes. But I'll give Patrick Mahomes credit for one thing. He knows how to play the game and how to pull the wool over people's eyes. His little tightrope walk. He puts defensive guys in bad positions with things he does. Watch him. He's different than the other guys, right, Mo? Like the way he'll duck down and two guys will hit themselves. He knows. He's like a wrestler, Gabe. It's almost like he knows every trick in the book, foreign object, and he knows it's going to get called. So we have to give him credit for being that way. He's slick. It's that simple. He's very slick.
And why wouldn't he? He pushes it, right? I mean, but why wouldn't you, right? I mean, you're gonna play that game.
Right.
The Texans, one of the hits though, when the Texans hit each other, he slid down, and the Texans didn't even hit him. They actually went helmet to helmet on each other. And the referee that called it didn't even see it. He was so far away. It's just sort of instinctive with these guys.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
He did nothing for 5 weeks. So he's becoming his brother. So I don't want to hear about how great TJ Watt is with his 0 playoff wins. And he's the first guy to admit it. He comes right out and says, I've never won a playoff game. I don't matter. All right, at least we all know who the best player on the team is. It's George Pickens. If you don't believe that, well, then screw you, too.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
Real momentum on Deion Sanders becoming the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
I heard that this morning.
And Dallas is interested in the idea. Deion is interested in the idea, and there is equal interest in moving up to get Shedeur Sanders to be the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys under Deion.
Be a hell of a reality show.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP of the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP of the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Morency. So as we stated, the National Football League has already announced the refereeing crews for this weekend's conference championship games. And as we mentioned, Clete Blakeman will be the official for the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. And everybody thinks that the refs are always on the Chiefs' side, and it often appears to be that way. But in the Patrick Mahomes era, the Chiefs are 5-6 straight up. And 4-6-1 against the spread when Clete Blakeman is the official. Most recently, their 2014 Christmas Day loss to the Raiders last year. So he actually hasn't done a game this year, which I almost feel like is by the Chiefs' request. I believe in the conspiracy. I'm like, oh, you guys, that's kind of weird. You never got Blakeman, and you don't do well with him. Yep. But there it is. So for the record, so Blakeman, the history with the Chiefs and Blakeman is not one-sided, and I do believe that the NFL chose Blakeman because of this, because they don't want people bitching about this.
And Gabe, the other game, take a look at Hockley's numbers in favor of the Eagles and compared to the Commanders. Like, and that was way out of whack too. Take a look at that. Like Hockley and the Eagles are like
the Eagles are 6-0 straight up and 3-2-1 against the spread with Hockley. In the Sirianni and Hurts era, Washington lost. What did they do? They beat the Saints, and they won against the Falcons. No, they actually won twice with the same crew this year. My bad. So they won twice. They won 2019, and they won. So they're 2-0. So there's not really much to take away there. Hockley is 27-14-1 to the under in career divisional games, although 3-1 to the over this year. Mo, we'll get your picks right now. We've got a couple of minutes here. What do you think? We'll start off Washington Commanders and the Eagles. Can the Commanders pull off one more upset and make it to the Super Bowl?
I don't think so. They can't stop Jalen Carter. They're going to have problems. And look, Sam Cosmi's out for the year, the left guard, right? And Carter loves devouring those interior linemen, as we saw against the Rams. And I think the key for the Eagles is going to be their front five. Can they establish the running game early? Because, look, Jalen's not going to throw for 400 yards. It's going to be all about the Eagles' running game and what their defensive line does against Jaden Downs. They have to be disciplined, pass rushing him, and keeping him in the pocket and forcing him to make a second, third option look for his passing options out there.
And not to mention, you didn't even bring up Saquon Barkley. The Commanders aren't great against the run either, so they're going to have to sell out literally. That's how for me, I'd be concerned of the Commanders because they're going to know this. They're going to sell out to stop Barkley. And then I think they're going to get burnt. I could see, Goddard having a big game over the middle of the field, Mo. You know what I mean? They're going to play one-on-one because they're going to stack the box to stop Barkley. And they're going to say, you know what? We'll pick our poison and make Jalen Hurts beat us.
Yeah, and he got hurt against the Commanders. Remember that game out in D.C., right? They were with Kenny Pickett throwing the football.
He gets hurt in every game, this guy.
Yeah,
he's always hurt.
But that was the game that
turnovers, though, Mo, too. 5 turnovers.
Right, that's
true. They're a better team now. Gabe brought up a great point. Philadelphia's problem is they want to turn this into like Barkley, bang, bang, bang. If Washington goes out and they want to turn it into a track meet, Philadelphia, they're going to be in trouble because they want to slow down the game.
And that game turned Washington's season around and got them into that playoff conversation to be that they can believe they can play the big hitters, and now here they are.
So, do you think they can cover the point spread, or you got Philadelphia winning by more than 6?
I think you know what? I'm going on the limb. I think the Eagles will cover the spread. I really do. I think they can. They have this momentum right now. And that defense, they stuck to their game plan under Fangio. And Vic Fangio is really good at these type of matchups that he has against quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels. I think he comes up with the goods, and I think they do cover the point spread against the Commanders.
You know, the Bills win against the Ravens kind of remind me a little bit of Ohio State and Texas in the sense that the Ravens were right there on the goal line. They kind of brought it upon themselves and screwed it up. And then the Ravens, you know, should have tied the football game up. And that's the thing, though. Would have been tied, and the Bills did have a $1:33 on the clock. So I think the Bills probably would have just went down the field and scored. But nevertheless, it is what it is. But, you know, over the years, the Bills haven't had a lot of playoff luck. From the missed field goal, the Music City Miracle, the 13 seconds. I could go on and on. There's a lot of bad things. Ronnie Harmon years ago dropping a pass in the end zone against Cleveland. Like, there's been a lot of things that have happened to them bad. And I almost get the feeling like suddenly the Bills have good luck on their side, as we saw. I mean, the Ravens did beat themselves a lot last week. They dropped a lot of passes and just, you know what I mean? The Bills won the game, but they also had a lot of luck. We only got 30 seconds, unfortunately, Mo. Who do you got? Buffalo or
Bills.
KC?
I got the Bills. It's all going to be about their defensive line and what Ed Oliver does. Can he harass Mahomes? If he does, Buffalo's going to New Orleans, and you'll see them live in person in 2 weeks' time.
I got to raise $10,000 to do so. Hey, other than that, you're on your own later.